Hi, my name is Volkaerts. I'm the Chief Executive of Nervecentre. I'd like to talk to you a little today about the ambition for Nervecentre to deliver an EPR fit for the whole ICS. And most importantly, I want to talk to you about transformation. The objective of delivering digital is transformation. The digital is not an objective in its own right. And so, therefore, I want to look at what we think are the four most important aspects of how digital can deliver transformation into the NHS. Those four things are paperless, data, agility, and borderless. I'm going to walk through those four things one at a time, trying to describe what good looks like for those four different areas, and then help you to understand what our ambition is for Nervecentre in each of those four areas. Let's start with paperless. Paperless is the most understood of the four. It's the area that is most sought after within tenders, and generally speaking, the ambition of a hospital putting an EPR in has paperless at its heart. It's well understood how to measure paperless. It's generally measured by breadth. So how much of the hospital have I managed to make paperless or to remove the paper from? And therefore, an EPR that's being judged on paperless is quite often judged by the number of modules it has, because that gives an idea of how much of the EPR how much paperless can be delivered by that EPR. And of course, those are really important facets. Paperless has to be broad. There's one area of paperless, though, that I think doesn't quite get the attention that it deserves, and that's the real-time need for paperless. The desire to get the information into the EPR as the information becomes known, as opposed to entered into the EPR after the fact. So let me give you an example. During a ward round, a doctor is speaking to a patient and they want to change the warfarin dose of that patient. Or they may discover the patient has a new comorbidity, or they've deteriorated and they want to record that deterioration. If that information is entered into the EPR at that moment beside the patient bedside, that is absolutely the safest time to enter that information into the EPR. But it also allows the information to be used by others across the hospital from that point in time. And it makes the data within the EPR more real-time and therefore more trustworthy, because you can be assured when you're looking at the data that it is a true and accurate reflection that is up to date. Whereas when data is entered after the fact, then there is a period of time where the EPR does not accurately reflect the status of the patient, and that can cause challenges with trust. So we think paperless is well understood, but we would emphasize the real-time aspect of paperless because it plays a role in some of the other things that I'm going to go on to talk about. The second objective is data, and data is reasonably well understood as well as a goal and as an objective, but it's a lot less requested in EPR tenders. You tend to find maybe only 5% of the questions focus on the use of data, when most people actually think that data is just as important as paperless. And I think it's important when we consider data that we divide it into two separate requirements for data, both of which are equally important but have quite different characteristics. The first of those is real-time data. The ability for a clinician at the patient's bedside to have access to data so that they understand how to prioritize their actions, or for the operations team within a hospital to know exactly the status of the hospital and where the priorities lie. And then, of course, the second half of data is analytics, modeling, being able to look at trends and understand how to reorganize your care pathways in order to maximize that. And both of those halves are very important in order to deliver transformation. Agility is the ability to go through the plan, do, check, act cycle that transformation encompasses in as short a time as possible. Most organizations that have really successfully use digital to transform can run this cycle within a matter of months. That means that they can look at the data that tells them how their processes work today. They can make changes to their processes, usually in the digital domain, although sometimes sometimes that involves moving people around and training as well. They can then validate the change that's happened by again looking at the data, and then act upon those changes in order to reaffirm that transformation. And of course, transformation is about running through that cycle continuously. This isn't a single cycle. This is iterations that will look at many parts of the hospital. Therefore, it's really important to be able to do that quickly. The challenge with digital is that if it doesn't allow you to implement those changes quickly, then digital will not be your enabler for change, it'll be your barrier for change. In order for digital to be the enabler for change, it has to have two elements that are really flexible. You have to have flexibility in software configuration so that you can make some changes very quickly, and you have to have flexibility in the software upgrade cycle so that if the change requires new software, that doesn't have a 1 to year 2 cycle in order to deliver it. So when we're looking at how digital supports transformation, the agility is really important. The agility of software configuration and the agility of software upgrade cycles. This can only be accommodated by SaaS models. The very best organizations in the world that use digital to the greatest extent don't upgrade their software every 1 or 2 years. They upgrade their software continuously, and the SaaS model needs to accommodate that. And the final point is borderless. And the reason why borderless is our final point, even though potentially it's the most important point, is that we believe it cannot be delivered to its fullest extent without the other 3 components being there in the first place. So a borderless healthcare system has no boundaries between acute and community, between acute and mental health, or between care providers and patients. All of the actors within the cycle can access their information and update their information in real time. They're working on a single source of truth, and everyone is working collaboratively on that single source of truth. So try and imagine how that could be achieved if you have 1 to 2 year upgrade cycles, or if the data wasn't as real time as I've discussed it being, really. So people look at paperless and the sharing of data being a prerequisite for a truly borderless healthcare system. But in actual fact, we believe that agility and data are just as important in order to achieve that borderless care as well. So finally, just to conclude on the 4 points and let you know what Nervecentere's ambitions are for those 4 objectives. For paperless, our objective is to build a single integrated EPR that reaches across all of the requirements for paperless within first an acute hospital, and then we'll look beyond the acute hospital boundaries. We want that system to be the most highly usable system that is possible to build. That we've already done great work in achieving that, to making sure that the information in the EPR is real time and accurate and trusted. Because if the information is real time and accurate and trusted, we can then move on to data and we can start to deliver actionable insights. We can already give lists in the hand of the doctor of patients that need to be clerked, patients that have arrived with certain comorbidities, patients that have arrived on certain medications that require prompt treatment. All of the data within Nervecentre can be delivered, processed as actionable insights to the hands of the clinicians. An organisation that has data at the heart of its transformation is an organisation where every individual within the hospital is utterly dependent on that data. From the point of view of agility, we're delivering SaaS. We're going to be delivering software changes to hospitals, real time, continuously, so the hospitals will never again have to wait 1 to 2 years for an important change. We'll cut down the dev to live cycle from a period of years down to a matter of weeks. So the transformation will not be held up by the need for software to accommodate that change. And then from the point of view of borderless, we'll then start to break down those boundaries and deliver visibility and read-write access to that data from all of the people that participate in the care cycle of that patient. What we'd like you to do is raise your expectations about what an EPR should look like. We'd like you to look across industry at the very best software packages and then look at your EPR systems and ask yourself whether you should be compromising on the ability of software within the NHS or whether you should demand that the software is the very best software in the world. Thank you.